Okay, what we're doing here, we've actually got some flour and we're dusting the floor of this camp oven because the camp oven floor is already hot. Now that flour is going to get cooked by the heat underneath the oven. It's going to tan up in colour, hopefully not burn. There's a little bit of smoke in one spot here in the corner. It must be pretty hot there, but it's showing me where the hot spots are. I'm pretty happy with it at the moment. It looks like it's fairly stable. So this is pretty much ready now for me to go and get my damper batter and sit it directly on that flour. I'm looking at it starting to tan up here in colour, and that's what I want. I want a nice light tan underneath my damper, and this is how I know I'm going to get it, because I can see it down here on the floor. That flour that's cooking there is a mirror image of what the bottom of that damper is going to look like when I finish cooking it. Okay, now I've got my camp oven down here. The flour's browned off beautifully on the bottom, so she's ready to put the damper in. Everything's ready to go. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a 4-cup recipe of damper. Okay, now watch very closely, because one thing I've learned over the years is you've got to be really careful when you measure all the ingredients in. So that's definitely 4 cups going in there, right? 4 cups exactly, self-raising flour. To that, I'm going to add a little trick I learned out here in Burke many years ago. Tablespoon of icing sugar. That'll make your damper batter nice and light and fluffy. Don't try and switch it for white sugar, it won't work. White sugar just makes it sweeter. This will change the texture. Absolutely beautiful, great little tip right there. Also, we're going to add about half a teaspoon of salt into that. And we'll give that a quick mix, dry ingredients mixed up. Quick mix in that. Now you might notice I'm using a knife for mixing, and there's a reason for that. When I'm making these dampers commercially, sometimes I've got a whole day of just making dampers. And I've got to do this 4-cup damper, and I've got to cook it in 35 minutes. The only way I can get every single damper I make to cook in that 35 minutes and come out perfect every time is by having the right amount of moisture, the same amount of moisture as the last one. Now, I don't measure it in because it changes for every single batter, it changes with humidity. The only way I can measure how much water goes in there is by using my knife, and this is a very interesting little tip. I know it takes a couple of good glugs to get it in there to start, so that's about 2 cups or something like that, I guess. And I'm going to cut it in. There's actually 2 reasons why I use a knife. I'll show you the other one in a minute. But I'm cutting this in to get it as even as I can, and it does take a couple of minutes, so bear with me. Cutting motion in, still pretty floury, trying not to spill too much, but a little bit goes over. I'm going to add a little bit more to that. That's enough. Okay, because what I'm looking for, I want to get it as crumbly as I can so it's evenly mixed. There we go. Yeah, there's lots of little crumbly bits in there like that. Well, that's good. But what we need to do, once it gets to that point, and that's about evenly mixed through there, once I get to that point, I just start adding little tiny bits of water and a little line across like that. And I'll do a couple of turns of my knife. Couple of turns, and then another little line like this. And then a couple more turns. And you'll notice what's happening is it's no longer crumbly, it's actually coming together in some quite big lumps. So what I'm watching is down in the corner here, there's actually some light fluffy stuff. When that disappears, I know it's getting very close to having the right amount of moisture, and it's still a little bit dry at this stage, so I'm going to add one more little bit, and I reckon that's going to be very close to being enough. Oops, got me water. There it comes. Couple more turns, there it goes. Right, see that? It's following the knife. The moment it comes and follows the knife around, stop adding water, you've got the perfect amount of moisture in it. Now the beauty of that little trick is, it doesn't matter if you have a 2-cup damper, a 4-cup damper, or a 10-cup damper, it always grabs the knife at the same amount of moisture content. So everything is the same amount of wetness, if you like. So the cooking time is going to be roughly the same size. Now the other reason I'm using a knife, everywhere I open this up, you can see little air holes in there. So this little damper here, he's already light and fluffy. he's got a head start. If you use your hands to mix it up, you can push all that air out and you end up with a flat pancake type batter. It'll still rise, but mine's just got a bit of an advantage over yours straight away because it's already got air into it, because I was cutting air into it the whole time I was mixing it. So that's another good little tip. Now all I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring it together into the shape I want to work with. Dust up my hands with some flour. Windy all of a sudden. Roll him into a shape like that. He's all full of air now, so I don't mind handling him. A little trick. I know this damper is going to rise quite big and it's going to tear itself apart. So I'm actually going to train it to tear itself apart where I want. I'm going to cut quite a deep cross in him, like that, with a serrated knife. Okay, so he's ready to go in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is sprinkle a bit of dust over him. Just like that. Finish him off. Check my oven, looking at the bottom here and making sure it's nice and brown and gold and not burning. It all looks pretty stable. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to put that straight in here now and let him cook. There we go.